Hello, everybody. Today we're continuing our series of common marketing terms. Last week we talked about inbound marketing, so I think this week it only makes sense to talk about outbound marketing, kind of the converse, so you can figure out what makes sense to implement when, what makes the most sense for you, and proceed there with effectiveness, right? Effective marketing, because that's what we're all about here on the BB&J Podcast, trying to change it up a little bit. I'm your almost always host, John Lint, and let's get into it. So, what is outbound marketing? Outbound marketing is promoting a product through continued advertising, promotions, public relations, and sales. It is considered to be the traditional way of doing marketing, whereby companies focus on finding customers through advertising. So most of what you would traditionally see as a commercial, commercials have changed a lot over the years, and they have shifted their focus a little bit, but what you would typically see is in a newspaper advertisement, traditional marketing, print marketing commonly, right? The kind of marketing that you see plastered to the windows at a store, right? Those forms of marketing are traditional marketing. So outbound marketing has been around for a while. And it's been around for a while because, in general, it does a pretty good job, right? But why are people shifting more towards inbound marketing? Why are people focusing less, putting less resources into outbound marketing? Because while it does a relatively good job, while it is pretty effective, there are more forms of marketing that are generally more effective and more important to focus on. Does that mean that you should completely get rid of all of your outbound marketing? No, it's a terrible idea. You're not going to get business. But your focus should be, in terms of content, for example, about 20 to 30% at most should be promotions, because that organic stuff, that inbound, that inbound focused marketing does better. Just how it is. But sales are sales. People appreciate them, So let's talk about, if you are more focused on inbound marketing and you want to try to increase the amount of outbound marketing you're doing, or if you're currently doing outbound marketing and you're trying to, increase the effectiveness of it, well, how do you go about implementing that? So outbound marketing gets a lot into things like sales, right? Things like promotions. So the frequency is important. If you're a single company and you're just putting out sales constantly, that's not going to be very effective. If I'm seeing, every ad I see is like 30% off, 50% off, it's like for the same company, for the same products, at a certain point it's like, well, what's the actual price? Are you just, telling me that this $100 shirt is $200 that's 50% off? The modern Black Friday criticism of companies inflating prices and then creating these sales? Or is it an actual sale? So what I'll say is, if you're a large company, if you're like a really big company, you are diffuse enough, you're putting out enough stuff that you can throw in those, you can regularly be putting out promotions, because you're putting out so much other stuff all the time that people will be okay with it. But if you're a small company, or if you're not putting out a ton of content, and the majority of that content is promotions, people aren't going to engage with your content. People aren't going to watch it because it's like, oh, what is he trying to sell me? I'm sure we all know that person or that business the people's I think more common idea of entrepreneurs, right? The toxic entrepreneur, grind set people, who are like, every time you talk to them, you know that they're trying to sell you something, and they're like very aggressive about it. And sometimes it could be a good product, but it's just tiring, because you're like, what are they going to try to sell me this time? What are they going to try to get me on this time? You don't want to be sold to constantly. People don't enjoy that. You don't want to be sold to constantly, so you shouldn't be trying to sell to people constantly. But you should to some degree, right? They say you're always selling yourself, but are you always offering yourself at 50% off? That's the advantage of inbound marketing. You're showcasing why your shirt is worth $100, rather than saying, hey, it's a $200 shirt that's 50% off. Focusing on why you have value does a lot better. Now, if you're trying to get out a product quickly, if you're trying to get that initial boost, or, are doing a specific promotion, that's where outbound marketing comes in. It does a very good job of that, as long as you don't use it to the extreme. If you use it too much, then people just get fatigued by it almost. So finding that balance is the key to effective implementation. The way I'd like to close off the podcast is just with some simple comparison, contrasting between inbound and outbound marketing. Because one week I talked about one week I talked about other. I just want to be clear of what is the actual difference, you might be thinking, right? So inbound marketing focuses on bringing customers to you. Outbound marketing focuses on reaching out to customers, reaching out and trying to entice customers with deals, promotions, discounts, that kind of thing, right? Inbound marketing is more content focused. Outbound marketing is more advertisement focused. But at their core, they're both marketing. They're both part of an effective marketing strategy. And if you want to do well, you need to find balance between the two. Find the balance that works for you. I talked about the 20 to 30% of your content at most should be promotion. Finding that exact number, that's going to take time. That's going to take a little bit of research, and just continually, consistently putting out content. And with that, I'd like to thank you so much. You've been listening to the BB&J Podcast. I'm your host, John Lint. Like I said, we'll be doing more on these concepts in the coming weeks, and I'll see you back for those, okay? Bye.